Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, controversy in Gaza. President Donald Trump says the U.S. will be setting up aid stations in the area, even as Israel continues to send humanitarian help there. But Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls it propaganda and says there's no policy of starvation in Gaza. We're going to bring you the story from Jerusalem. Even as the president is traveling internationally in Scotland, the controversy over the Epstein files is following him. We're going to hear what he has to say about the controversy. With modern warfare becoming more high-tech, we're going to bring you a look at how one key unit in the Pentagon is keeping the U.S. ahead of the curve on the next-generation technology. And a remarkable story of perseverance as Christian vocalist Myshel Wilkins suffered through 8 miscarriages. But her faith in Jesus got her through her difficult trial to have 2 children. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, July 29th, going to begin this half hour in the Middle East as Israel is sending more humanitarian aid into Gaza. President Donald Trump says the U.S. will begin setting up food centers in the area. But Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the images of starvation in Gaza are Hamas propaganda. CBN's Paul Petit brings us the story now. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
Explosions Monday night, humanitarian aid drops by morning, opposing scenes in Israel's war in Gaza. The IDF is now pausing operations 10 hours a day to improve the flow of aid into the territory. President Trump says he's seen images of hungry children and is strategizing with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to feed them.
We're going to set up food centers, and we're going to do it in conjunction with some very good people, and we're going to supply funds, and we just took in trillions of dollars. We got a lot of money, and we're going to spend a little money on some food, and other nations are joining us.
Netanyahu calls accusations of deliberate starvation a bold-faced lie, insisting images of hungry Palestinians are an act of Hamas propaganda.
There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza. We enable humanitarian aid throughout the duration of the war to enter Gaza. Otherwise, there would be no Gazans.
Seeming to back that claim, recent footage from Al Sahaba Market in Gaza City, packed with food, and reports that a photo of an emaciated child held up by news outlets as the face of starvation in Gaza was actually a child with a genetic disorder who was evacuated from Gaza in June. Israel also released video claiming to show Hamas looting humanitarian aid meant for civilians.
Israel's dealing with an immoral, an evil enemy, genocidal enemy, massacred, mass raped our citizens, and an immoral, morally confused West that's making us feed our enemy, even though it's known that Hamas itself takes the aid and sells it at exorbitant prices to its own people.
At the United Nations Monday, France urged the EU to push Israel toward a two-state solution, triggering protests by Jewish groups in France. The U.S. State Department called the meeting a staged conference. Now come reports that in coming days, the UK plans to announce a peace plan that includes a Palestinian state.
We understand the goal, which is to try to help peace, but we consider that it is counterproductive because at the end, this decision, this recognition of a Palestinian state will be considered by the Hamas as its own victory.
We are coming up with various plans. We're going to say it's a very difficult situation. If they didn't have the hostages, things would go very quickly.
In Jerusalem, Paul Petit, CBN News.
Pick up now with President Donald Trump traveling in Scotland, but he cannot seem to escape the Jeffrey Epstein controversy. The president was asked once again if he will pardon Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. He answered by saying, "I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it." And he explained why he ended his friendship with Epstein. CBN's Wendy Griffith has the story.
President Trump says he ended his years-long friendship with Jeffrey Epstein because he hired away employees that worked at Mar-a-Lago.
He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
Trump and Epstein were friends for more than a decade, socializing in New York and Palm Beach. Monday, the president says he never accepted an invitation to visit Epstein's private Caribbean island, where underage girls were allegedly trafficked for sex.
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they hadn't spoken in 15 years. Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is serving 20 years for sex trafficking Epstein's victims, met for 9 hours over 2 days last week in Florida with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Sources say she initiated the meeting and received limited immunity for the statements she made. Asked about a pardon for Maxwell, the president did not take it off the table.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. It's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk about it.
It's still not known what information Maxwell may have given the attorney general. Her attorney said she did not ask for a pardon and none was offered, although she is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn her conviction on sex trafficking, saying she was unjustly prosecuted. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Coming up, technology is changing almost every area of our lives, and it's part of the new arms race. The Pentagon is bringing Silicon Valley to the battlefield. We're going to show you how the Defense Department is using advanced technology to fight the wars of tomorrow when we come back. Modern warfare is becoming faster and more unpredictable. From Ukraine to the Middle East, today's battlefields are a proving ground for artificial intelligence, drones, and other cutting-edge advances. One key unit helping the U.S. stay ahead is known as a disruptor within the Pentagon. It's bringing next-generation technology and tactics to the front lines. National security correspondent Caitlin Burke brings us that story.
The arms race of the 21st century no longer focuses on hardware like missiles and tanks. It's about algorithms, AI, and the speed of innovation. To gain a cutting edge over our adversaries, the Defense Department is looking to the private sector. And the team making it happen is the Defense Innovation Unit, or DIU.
When I think about the mission of DIU, it is very, very firmly rooted in the fact that we need to make sure our service members, our warfighters, have the best technology on the battlefield and whatever that battlefield looks like in the future. And to do that, you have to think outside of the box. You have to think outside of the Pentagon, and you have to be able to move with speed.
The unit's director of commercial engagement, Sarah Pearson, has a background in both military service and commercial tech development. Sitting down with CBN News, she explained the importance of bringing a Silicon Valley mentality to the Pentagon.
When we bump into red tape of, oh, let's go do this formal thing, this will take 3 to 6 months, we're just immediately questioning that. And we just, frankly, we've never accepted kind of what those timelines were. We've got to bring the best that sits outside of the government right now and bring it in as quick as possible, because the world is dynamic and you don't know when you're going to be forced to really push those different capabilities into an operational use case.
Created nearly a decade ago, this group operates as a startup within the Department of Defense. They focus exclusively on getting this tech into the field and ready to use by the U.S. military at commercial, not government speed.
The majority of the technology we needed no longer sat within our national labs or within the companies that were continuously supplying the Defense Department. Instead, a lot of that innovation in the capital that was fueling that innovation was occurring across our country, in spots like Silicon Valley, in Austin, and Boston, and New York.
From battlefield drones to satellite analysis and cybersecurity, DIU has launched more than 100 commercial solutions since its founding in 2015. The unique process being teams first learning the different needs within the Defense Department, then taking the issue straight to the private sector.
So we share the problem on the website, we leave it up, we go through a series of down selections. Ultimately, that plays out over about 90 days, 3 to 4 months. At the end of that 3 to 4 month period, we put companies on contract to then come deploy their capability. Let's validate if the capability solves the problem that we have. We'll do a little bit of extra development in there to really make it a slam dunk. And then if it solves the problem, now let's go scale it. Let's go bring other people across the Defense Department to benefit from that capability.
Domino Data Lab is one of DIU's latest partners. Their mission? Help the U.S. Navy find a better way to identify threats underwater.
What the Navy was looking for was a way to rapidly iterate AI models for underwater target detection. Their current process took almost a year to retrain and redeploy a model. And you can imagine that is not acceptable. Our platform was the backbone for rebuilding and retraining those models and deploying them more rapidly. And Domino helped dramatically reduce the time required from over 6 months to under a week. And our target is to get that down to a day in the future.
Chief Operating Officer Thomas Robinson tells CBN News, although Domino had never worked with the military, the potential became clear when the request came in for the Navy's Project Ammo.
One of the horror stories you hear many times from startups that try and engage with the Department of Defense is it takes forever. You spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of money waiting to get to a significant contract. And honestly, when we met the DIU, it seemed like a different way of working.
Domino's success on Project Ammo resulted in the opportunity and funding to move into other areas within the Pentagon. Robinson sees building trustworthy tools for warriors as their top priority.
We test extensively. We monitor the systems that are operational so that we make sure that they're still working within their design parameters. In the same way, you wouldn't want to rely upon a weapon that misfires. You can't rely on an AI system that doesn't give you an accurate result.
In a world where the pace of warfare can shift by the minute, Pearson says America's ability to innovate is critical.
If we want to be able to deter war in the future, which for us at DIU is still the top priority, deterrence, or if we do need to engage, we want to make sure we have capabilities that ensure we win if we're forced to fight.
As the Defense Innovation Unit continues to break down barriers, the Pentagon is proving it can cut loose from bureaucracy and keep pace with cutting-edge technology, an edge that could define success on tomorrow's battlefield. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, the Pentagon.
Still ahead, persevering through hardship, a Christian woman tells CBN News how her faith in Jesus got her through 8 miscarriages before she finally gave birth to 2 children. We're going to hear from her when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Christians often find it difficult to accept hardship, especially when it just keeps on going. On this week's episode of Healthy Living, the CBN News Channel Christian vocalist Myshel Wilkins talks about her faith in Jesus and how it brought her through 8 miscarriages to finally give birth to 2 children. Take a look.
You know, I was touring a lot, and so we decided to postpone having children for several years, and we were young and enjoying our lives together as a married couple. And then when we decided to have children, I thought it was going to be easy. You just, come together and God blesses, and that's how it works. And I remember going to the doctor when we found out we were pregnant and hearing the heartbeat. Everything was surreal. Everything's looking great, perfect. And then I get the news that, I'm sorry, but there's no longer a heartbeat. I couldn't even process it. I mean, I kept asking the nurse, I'm sorry, what do you mean? And she was saying, sorry, I'm so sorry, sweetheart, there's no longer a heartbeat. And so I remember thinking, what's wrong with my body? What's wrong with me? Like, how could this happen? What's happening with my physical body? What's going on with me and the Lord? How could he allow this to happen? And I was really battling as I was leaving the hospital, going back to my car. I remember it just took my breath away, and I was just like, what is happening? I want answers.
And so yet that was miscarriage number 1.
That's right.
It just seems impossible that you were able to do that 7 more times. Talk about that journey too, and also your faith journey with that, because a lot of people would have given up, their faith.
Yeah. So I remember getting into the car and I was looking at the radio, and it said, count it all joy. And I remember looking at those words like, who wrote that? What do you mean count it all joy when you go through various trials and tribulations? Like, have you ever been through anything? And I remember in that moment feeling like the Lord wanted to invite me to find out what that meant. I was already feeling like I had hit the bottom. Okay, God, let's do this your way. Now, I had a choice because I'm telling you, I felt the pit opening up, accusing God of not being good. I felt the sense of entitlement coming out of me, like I don't deserve this type of a trial. I'm good. I do this. I do that for God. I do mission work. I do all these things. I don't deserve this. And I remember as I was headed home, I thought, I have a choice. What are you going to do? What are you going to do in this moment? Who is God in this moment to you right now? Is he still good? Is he still faithful? Is he still worthy of your adoration and praise, even when you're on a mountain? But now that you're in the valley, who is he? And I had to make a decision. And so the only thing I knew to do was start to worship. I know that sounds crazy, and I'm telling you, I didn't feel like doing it. But it wasn't about feelings in that moment. I had to do what I knew was going to get me out of a place of extreme anger and shame and guilt and all the things, because your mind runs rampant. You want to find answers. Was it what I ate yesterday? I shouldn't have worked out so hard. Like, you're thinking of all these things, and they can torment you if you don't put those things in their place. So all I knew to do was just to worship God. All I knew to do was just keep singing until I felt those accusations become like far from me. And I'm telling you, I've never felt God's presence as strong as I did. I remember the atmosphere changing in my home. And I remember my husband, who was downstairs, comes running to the banister and says, baby, keep singing. His holiness had come so powerfully in my house. I couldn't get low enough. I wanted to become one with the carpet fibers. It was overwhelming. I can't even put language to it. And in that moment, I knew that in that moment, God, the God of the universe, had come to see about me. I felt his presence so strong. And in that moment, I felt like, I'm so grateful that you've come to see about me. There was a joy like, oh my gosh, you really are close to the brokenhearted. And from that moment, it just revolutionized my understanding of his presence when we're going through difficult times, the beauty of who he is when we're going through some of the most tragic times of our lives. And after that, yes, I had several other miscarriages, but I kept remembering that moment, and I carried that to every time the doctor said, I'm so sorry you lost another sweet one. And I would say, surely you're with me, and you will escort me through this. Give me strength. I cling to you. I'm telling you, I clung to him. And he helped me walk through the ups and downs of this very difficult season for me and my husband.
Now, if you'd like to read Myshel's book, it's called Arise, Shine, and Conquer, 40 Days of Courage for Women. She encourages women to listen to God's voice and to find victory. You can hear more about how Myshel's faith increased her in those trials on this week's edition of Healthy Living. You can find it on the CBN News Channel today at 2:30 and 8:30 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can find it on YouTube. Coming up, it has been one of the fastest growing sports in America in recent years. We're talking pickleball. And now churches are getting in on the action as well to build their own communities and as an outreach to non-believers. We got the story for you when we come back. You are watching CBN NewsWatch. Summertime is here, and a growing sport has been taking America by storm in recent years. Almost 20 million Americans are now playing pickleball, and churches are also tapping into its popularity. CBN's Jenna Browder has this story.
It's fun, social, and relatively easy to pick up. Pickleball, America's fastest growing sport.
It's just so much fun.
Courts have popped up all over the country, and here at Emmanuel Church in Huntingtown, Maryland, they have 3.
We have a lot of regulars. It falls off a little bit during the summer months because people can play outside, and somehow that's a little bit more fun.
Courts are open Monday evenings to members who are allowed to bring up to 2 guests. Bill Holston, one of the organizers, begins each session with a short word and prayer.
We ask you to keep us safe as we play. Christ's name I pray. Amen.
From there, the games begin.
Well, when we're playing, it's pretty competitive, but it's really a good time. It's fellowship time, and we just we enjoy each other.
Because I used to be like a person who was always in a shell, like kind of like nervous about doing things, but this has kind of really opened me up to other things and being able to fellowship with other Christians and having a mutual fun time together.
It's part of a larger growing trend happening across the country. Churches tapping into the popularity of pickleball to grow community and also as an outreach to non-believers.
In addition to Mondays, Emmanuel invites the community to play on the third Saturday of each month.
Evangelical churches, Catholic churches, Methodist churches, non-denominational churches do pickleball, which is kind of fun. They use it as sort of outreach and community building and are having a good time with it.
Bob Smetana of Religion News Service talked to churches across the country about the trend.
It is a game that anyone can play. So that's what folks told me. The first time they show up, you can go from never having played to playing and having a good time fairly early.
An estimated 19.8 million Americans played pickleball in 2024, up about 45% from 2023. And Bob's right, it really is for just about anyone.
You know, we've got 80-year-olds playing, you know, all the way down to 10-year-olds, and we can play together.
Yeah.
And it's just such a sport that I think that everybody just has fun.
Christine King brought her young granddaughter to this session. She tells me they've had several people show up for pickleball who then started going to church.
And that's just been, I think, what I see as just a God thing, because, or they haven't been to church for 20 years and then they come, and some have been, you know, maybe in a different religion, and I thought was pretty cool.
Bill put it this way.
When I had first become a believer years ago, back in the mid-'70s, there was a concept of friendship evangelism, and this is what it is. Reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friends, reach out to your coworkers, and give them something cool to do with you guys.
And that's it. Have fun, get some exercise, and grow the kingdom. One dink at a time. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. It's a message I hope will bring you encouragement and that you will then pass along by posting, tagging, and tweeting and sharing it with those in your circles of influence. Know this, God's plan for your life is bigger than you think is possible. It's more than your eyes can see. Fix your eyes on Him and walk with faith in Him. Know this, no matter what life looks like in the moment, better days are ahead, and God is going to blow your mind. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time as well as online. That is cbnnews.com. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.